Hi, Marcia.
Hey Mel,
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good, and want to thank everybody for joining us today. And welcome back to
Mhm.
Dialogues Uncover and Define.
Welcome back, everybody.
One of the really cool parts, and we really want to join you. Thank you for joining us. Whether you're joining us live, whether you're joining us for replays, whether it's your first time, whether it's your last time, whether it's you're catching us on YouTube, we just want to thank you for spending part of your time with us today. One of the really cool things as we started this, and this is something Marcia and I started thinking about at the beginning of the year, and we launched it about 5 weeks ago. And we really weren't sure where it would take us. So we want to thank you for joining us, whether it's for the first time, whether you're joining us as a viewer, you're joining us as a guest. But we want to really thank you because in the process of doing this, you've really helped us uncover and define where we're going. So we've got some news for you. I don't know if you want the news up front or if you want the news at the back end, but Marcia, let's put it out there.
Everybody, this will be the last episode for this season. Okay? So we will be going further in the future. We'll have another opening of our Uncover and Define dialogues. So the rest of this year, we're done for this year. But hey Lachelle, hey Dave. So we will be fine. We're gonna be good. We're gonna be good, y'all. We're gonna have this. We're gonna just take our season break, and then we'll be back next year in 2021.
And welcome Matthew and Jonathan and Rick. And we are sending major positive energy right now
Yes.
to the dazzling Christopher Knight.
Oh, Christopher.
Christopher is having some of those interesting internet connectivity issues
Yeah.
that we happen to really uncover on our first episode of Your Sense of Self is the Structure for Your Business and Culture. So we really want to thank you for joining us today.
Yeah.
And today is Ignite to Lead. Ignite's been our word of the month. And I think part of the journey has been in the beginning, we're trying to fire things up. And not in an arson kind of way, as Jonathan always reminds us. and I'm watching him laugh in the background. So it's really a good time to kind of bring him in. And as we're reminding you, please keep bringing it. Bring your comments, bring your sense of humor.
Yes.
And really just relax, get a comfortable something and invite a friend. And if you're on YouTube or one of the premieres on Marcia's page, which you'll see us there in a couple of days, or you're here for a watch party and illuminations groups, we really want to thank you. But really, Jonathan reminded us in a wonderful way. When we picked the word ignite and we asked everybody in the beginning, what are good words? What are good words? Well, we came up with the word ignite, but we have all of your delicious words.
Yes.
And I want to thank Jonathan because we said ignite and Jonathan said ignite, not in an arson kind of way.
Stay away from that. But you'll be okay. Otherwise, it's good. It's a good word. Just not when you're burning things down.
Well,
how's everybody?
You two are kind of brand disruptors. And I'm honored for that.
He's my twin.
He's
my twin.
I love that. So tell everybody why you're twins.
Because he's very systematic and innovative. He innovative. He doesn't want to admit that he's like systematic, but you are because of all the content that you do. I mean, it's amazing. So can you do me a favor? Tell everybody that does not know who you are, that do not know who you
Those
are.
folks that don't know me. Okay.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Okay. And I'm really good at doing this really fast. Also, I need a haircut really badly. So my name is Jonathan Howard, and I am the owner of JRH Graphics as well as Success on Social, and I help businesses tell their story on social media in a bunch of different ways. So my real focus at this time is their story. So their brand, their story, what they're doing, why they're doing it, and how they can really tell that story on social media. So that's where I like to reside. And I know, I say I'm not systematic, but I have to be systematic because I have a number of brands that I'm representing as their sole provider of their social media, as the person that's creating their content. So I do have systems. I didn't have systems when I first started, and that made my life a little bit hectic. But I do have systems, but I also do like to innovate and push the line a little bit forward, or jump, 2 feet ahead of it, depending on what kind of a challenge it is. So I tend to push my clients to go a little bit further than they're used to. But if I can do that and they can reach their goals quicker, that's really what we're hoping to accomplish.
Cool.
Camera is crooked.
Oh, this is kind of cool, this format. All three of us side by side. Look at that. Do you like that, Jonathan? Yeah, I like that. Oh,
that's better.
So everybody will notice that Marcia really likes this view because she didn't like our other view because we were different sizes. So it's really a reminder that vision is underneath this. And it's one of the things I think that led us to kind of conclude Ignite with Ignite to Lead. And if it's okay with you, and I know we're talking about hiatus, but each of you in your own way kind of reminds me of something about Ignite to Lead. So if I was to pick something, and I'll start with Christopher since he's not here to defend himself, is that in terms of igniting to lead, Rick, my amazing tech guru, brought Christopher into the, let's call it the Be Visible with Mel universe, at a time when I wasn't sure that I had a leadership voice or a style. People thought I did, but I have to thank Christopher for reminding me to really explore the limits of that. And Christopher ignites me to lead, not only with Coffee with Chris, which has been a lot of fun, but really with education. Just like Jonathan says, he likes to challenge us. Christopher likes to leave you with a mic drop. And then in your quiet moments, you then get to explore where that takes you to. So if I had to come up with an Ignite to Lead word for Christopher, that word would be explorer.
I like that.
So when I think of it in terms of Jonathan picked and shared his 2020 word, and I want to thank you for that, which was facilitate. And in Jonathan's reminder to ignite us to lead, Jonathan really reminds you to really explore every day in every way. Yes, in Success on Social, but in your general day, what your life would be if you share your expertise. And Marcia reminds me of Ignite to Lead for many, many reasons. And I wish I had taped our conversation earlier, as opposed to every other session. We didn't really talk about where we were going today. But earlier, I had a chance to really thank Marcia. Marcia reminds you to ignite to lead with you at your core. That sense of self is the structure for your business and culture is from Marcia. And it's really the reminder as you're trying to figure out your brand voice and maybe where you want to share it and how you want to share it and why you want to share it and who you want to share it with. That while you're trying to figure out what that vision or that lens or kaleidoscope is, it really starts with you. So I was talking to her earlier about not really having a concept of leadership. Jonathan challenged me earlier this week about my leadership style. And Marcia will laugh because I really said to her, I really didn't have a current idea of what leadership meant. It was defined to me externally by external sources, maybe how our family sees us as a kid, So I was like the high school person who volunteered as vice president of the class. I don't even remember this. Mom had to show it to me in a yearbook. And I think Leadership Orange reminded me of this, which I mentioned this in one of our earlier segments of going through this and talking to friends about it. But I think the one thing that really caught me about it was in the beginning of our recent times of exploring that Marcia really and amazingly helped remind me it was about me. She reminds me of that in our first session. And then I came up with I'm possible. So I really want to thank you all for that. And I especially want to thank the universe for bringing us the amazing, the exciting, the delightful, amazing Christopher Knight, who is here now to explain and share. And Marcia, we're changing the view because that's
I don't care. That's fine. Yeah,
that's what we should do.
Yay.
That's what we should do.
Hey.
The universe has brought
The
us
internet. The internet gods finally shined down on my housetop here. I tell you what.
welcome.
Yay.
If there is ever a world that you don't want to live in, that's the internet jail. Anyway, hi to everybody. Hello.
I was in the internet jail for our first session, which is why you have no video, but you're here now to defend yourself and to really understand and explain. I'm now going to totally sit back and relax and just watch you guys rock and roll.
Yes.
So thanks. Welcome to our last dialogues of the series. We are going on hiatus. We are really excited that we started with your sense of self as the structure for your business and culture. And we went into Ignite, and then we went to Ignite to Impact and Ignite the Embers. And here we are with Ignite to Lead. And Marcia will remind me that I flipped the order. Ignite the Embers was with Lachelle, America's Supermom, and with Jackie Muller. And then we went to Ignite to Impact. And thank you for joining us for Ignite to Lead. So you guys rock. Thank you so much. Christopher, please introduce yourself. Tell the world about you and your magic.
Well, that's a very brief statement. I've got it in less than half a sentence. Christopher Knight. I'm in the digital marketing space. I a special interest in the Chamber of Commerce, and that's how I teach people how to use the Chamber of Commerce as their number one business partner. So for 15 years, I've had an agency. I now am virtually into the lead generation business, but again, teaching others is my passion. So that's my two sentences. Happy to meet everybody that's out there watching and on the replay as well.
Well, thank you so much and welcome. And we are graciously appreciative of your internet connectivity issues for allowing you to join us. But Marcia, kick us off.
So I've got this great question. Socrates stated that an unexamined life is not worth living. How have you examined yourself and your business as you're creating impact to lead?
You want to take that one first, Chris?
So you have time to think about what you're going to say.
Exactly.
That's fair.
I can take it. I can take it. I'll do it. All right. I think for me, I have to look at, because my world is constantly changing, being that I do social media, it's constantly changing. So I have to look at what I'm doing every single day, and I have to look at how I'm doing it every single day and really work to make sure that I'm making sense out of everything that I'm doing. And it is not easy. And then now looking at it on a much bigger scale, you have to take a look back, and you measure progress differently. Everybody does, but you have to take a look back at it in chunks and say, am I further along on my path now than I was when I started? And, measuring that progress and where you're going to where you want to be, there's a whole lot of journeys that you take, and there's a whole lot of ups and downs, and you just have to see that you've moved the chalk a little bit. And that's really how I would go into measure. Well, there's a lot of things you can do, but that's the basic idea.
Okay.
I didn't have time.
Impact on your life. Is that where we're headed on this one? But how life has impacted you, or how do you impact life? Which is the real question here, Marcia?
The question is, how do you examine yourself and your business? Okay.
All right.
To create that impact to lead.
Well, that's a question that's very broad, and I'll not take up the rest of the program. But I've owned my own business for 40 years. So during those 40 years, I've run up against everything you can imagine, and it's not all been in digital marketing. I've owned a sports marketing company. I worked with the NFL and the pro basketball teams, and I've had a transportation company that ran for almost 20 years, had 45 drivers I had to manage and take care of everything from ground up. Then I started the digital marketing business 15 years ago now. That's a long way to get to the point. How my life is impacted daily by the people I meet and by the opportunities that are presented to me. As Jonathan said, his life is changing all the time, and mine changes because as those new opportunities come up, I have to examine them because I have so many other things that I'm interested in doing, and that they really take my attention. They take my excitement and my energy, and I don't want to do anything that doesn't really fire me up. I'm in one of these guys that likes to start things. I like to start things and make them grow. My excitement in life is growing something in a business sense or growing a relationship. So growth to me and growing those types of relationships and attitudes and businesses, that's how I judge the impact and my impact. And that's how I get up every morning and I ask my question, did I live today? Or I go to bed, ask the question, did I live today? Did I make an impact? Did I influence somebody? So is that to the point?
Yep, that's it. Wait a minute, did I influence? Okay. I'm taking notes because these are good.
Kelly doesn't get a chance on this one.
I will, but I'm going to let Marcia ask me again so I can listen to it fresh.
Let me ask this question. Let me ask this. So when you say, okay, so do you have, as far as your business, you and Jonathan, as far as your businesses go, do you do like a quarterly review, a yearly review, a weekly review, monthly review? I'm going back out of order, but you know what I mean. Do you guys do that for your businesses to see if you're on track?
Yes and no. Like I think I was telling Mel yesterday, when you're running your own business and you're a solopreneur, it's like you're playing a game of softball, and then suddenly somebody starts a game of dodgeball behind you, and you get hit in the back of the head with a dodgeball. So I mean, that's what we're kind of going through right
Yeah.
now. I had a whole lot of plans, the things I wanted to get done this
Yeah.
year. I had a whole lot of goals this year. And being in your business, especially when things go a little haywire, you have to be flexible and you have to be able to, still pitch that softball and catch the dodgeball that's at the back of your
That's good. That's good.
So I have times, and I usually do it on a monthly basis, that I will go and see what I accomplished, if I reach my goals. And in my group and with people I'm working with, I do it on a weekly basis. But am I reaching my goals that I had for myself this year now? No, but I've readjusted those goals, and I'm creating different goals and using the time to make the most out of what we have right now.
Okay. All right.
There's no other way to do it.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Innovator. Okay.
Well, I don't really look back and reflect on what has happened, because I can't control that.
Right.
I can learn from it, but I can't control it. What I do, though, is to set more short-term goals, because I may have a long-term purpose, but I set short-term goals to get there. That way I'm not thinking about, oh gosh, did I get this done? Did I get this done? No, I do it on a daily basis, knowing what the end result's going to be and envisioning it. That's an important thing right there to me, is not to set the goal, but to envision that goal. So you see it and you feel it and you breathe it and you know it's coming. You don't have any doubt. You could taste it and it's there and it's going to be great. But you can only get there with short-term specific goals that you can meet, and you feel good when you meet those. All right, I'm on the next one. Boom, I'm on the next. And then I finally get to the final project, and then it's complete. And I move on from there, or I expand on that particular idea and grow it again, which is what I love to do, is grow that idea.
That's great. I'm glad you guys.
That's my answer. I'm sticking with it.
I love it. I love it. I can't wait till I listen back to this recording, because you guys are giving some good stuff. You really are. So thank you.
Right. I'm going to have you on. I'm going to have you on the frying pan Saturday. So.
I knew I shouldn't have asked that question.
You reminded me of something that Eve says, which was Christopher Knight on Unintentional Heroes has a tendency to ask you questions, at least one question to which you don't have an answer. It's one of the things. It's one of the reasons why I mentioned his ignite to lead from an exploration or an explorer perspective, because I think he's really, really good in his cultivation and growth in helping us figure out what seed we want to fertilize, and reminding us that there are different ways to measure growth. I think, and I'm so glad you're answering all of Marcia's questions, because she'll forget to ask me them, and I'm good with that. But I think the thing that cracks me up about it is that we were talking on Chris's Coffee with Chris about how we would change things in terms of business. And I think when Christopher first asked that question, I was reminded today in a conversation with Marcia of an amazing business coach who is hanging out in the clouds right now. And he's hanging out with a golf club and a large glass of Jameson's as he's puffing on a cigarette. And Joe Hoffman asked me questions the way you asked me questions. Really gave me goosebumps. It took me a little bit of Marcia and I think in this process, and I think the really cool part is she's asking you and Jonathan about what systematic and what you measure will digest for a really long time. What dialogues is helping us measure. And we started a discussion today about what it's helping us ignite. I think the thing that happens is as you're trying to light things up, as Jonathan would say, in the law abiding, non arson kind of way, is we never know what light bulbs will help other people turn on.
Yeah, it's true.
I think a big one for me has been recently, and Jonathan and I spoke about this a little bit yesterday. Our conversation about business transparency ignited something in me that I wasn't sure was in there. It kind of woke up my dreamer. And for those who always think I know what to say or who I want to say it to, I love when people like Christopher ask me questions and I don't have an answer. I think it's the reminder to be really, really fully present and to live it. And, you know, we talked earlier in some of our discussions about follow-up and how we reach out to people. And I think Lachelle asked us that question in a couple of great ways recently. But I think how we are lighting things up or helping others locate which light bulb is right for them and, you know, where they're getting kind of their insights or their fuel, or they're trying to figure out where their GPS is and what direction they want to go into. I never realized until you asked Eve a question recently that had Eve talk about leadership brands. It kind of helped me line up some stuff that I have really had been struggling with for a while. And I think it reminded me too that when we're allergic to leadership, and Marcia and I were laughing about this because we were talking about it in terms of Sally Hogshead. And this morning, Marcia and I compared a graphic that maybe we saw 6 years ago. And we compared it to something today. You never know where that seed's going to take you, where the view's going to take you, where the vision's going to take you. So I'm going to ask Marcia a question.
Nope.
Because, and I love that giggle. When we first met, we were starting to explore brands, and not how we shared our view. We met because we were talking about how to play with our styles, or how to help clients find a safe way to explore their styles so they became more comfortable expressing who they were. So today, what's different for you after igniting? I watched you last week at a virtual conference in a really amazing format that was totally challenging. You had to boil down a presentation on a panel to 1 minute and then do a 5-minute presentation that was a drill down. How did you light all that up in a way that was just so simple and transparent? And you shared weapons with us, good, cool, secret weapons. I never thought about how much you light up brands. How did you come up with that?
Prayer. Seriously, that's it. Point blank. Seriously. Because I'm gonna take this back. It's kind of, I don't want to take up their time, Christopher and Jonathan's, but the way that they review things, their lives and their businesses, I review mine in like a quarterly basis and a weekly. I do daily also. So I review stuff. And also another thing is that whole thing of my just knowing myself. And I mean, I have notebooks and notebooks, you guys, of writing and stuff that I've done all this work transparency work. And that has helped me. All that I had to do was pull the stuff that I've written in the past. You know, I just had to pull it and just organize it. So I did the thing in like 3 days, writing and designing the actual presentations and the slides and everything. But I think from where I was then to where I am now, I have so much more clarity and so much more focus. And that has to do with I'm going to say it again until I'm blue in the face. Knowing yourself. Understanding and knowing yourself and how you best communicate with the world. Because all of us are different, you know, and so we all have our own way of communicating that, you know, who we are. And so I think that's where how I'm different. Did that answer your question? I hope that answered the question. Did I? Because you guys, half the time I don't even know what I'm saying. When I'm I don't.
None of us do, Marcia. None of us do.
So
if I did not know what I was saying, I'd be saying that. Spot on.
Okay.
Don't worry. If Christopher doesn't get it out of you today on unintentional
Oh,
heroes,
he's going to torment me Saturday. I know he is.
we can build your YouTube channel by sharing the I'm not sure what I'm saying
Yeah.
to the really focused person last week in 1 minute.
Yeah.
In 5 minutes.
She just contradicted herself in that one statement. You know that,
Well,
right?
no,
Yeah.
because just talking about this right now, I don't know. I don't even know what I was saying in the 1 minute and the 5 minutes. I really don't. Like, I had to look at the videos again to see what I was saying, honestly.
So do me a favor, share the 1 minute with me because I didn't have a chance.
I don't have them. I don't have them yet. So I have to get them from them. Yeah, so I don't know. I got to find out what the heck I said. But people were like, oh, yay, Marcia, that's right. I was like, what? Okay, I don't even remember what I said. I don't. And people were like, oh, that's... But yeah, so. But I want to hear, because this is about Jonathan and Christopher. And I want to hear more about them. Do you have any questions for them, Mel? Or does the audience? Hey, you guys, do you have any questions for...
I thought this was a Mel and Marcia show.
It's more about you guys today because we are interviewing you guys. We're talking to you guys. It's about impact to lead. Okay, so then I'll have another question then, since nobody wants to ask me. Okay, so Jonathan, do either of you plan to hire out people to do stuff for you? Or to expand that beyond that solopreneurship thing?
Yes, but.
What's the but?
Yes, but. No, I do eventually. There's going to be a need for me to bring some people on to help me with certain things, but there's also certain things that I can't let go of because it's very representative of what I do as a business. So I can't, there's certain clients will be mine that I will continue to create content for. But that's also why I'm teaching more classes. I'm having the opportunity to teach more classes because that allows me to teach more businesses how to do what I'm doing. And it alleviates some of the need for me to do what I'm doing because it takes a lot of time and effort and plans and strategies and, to be their voice on social media. As social media gets bigger and bigger and bigger for each of these brands, there's only one person. It's tough. So
yeah, I'm sure
there's a need to hire out some stuff, but I'm very, very reluctant to do it for any number of reasons, including the fact that I'm cheap when it comes to that.
Well, when your health starts suffering, if it starts suffering, you'll be like, oh, I got to turn this over to some other. What about you, Christopher?
Well, it's impossible to scale a business without bringing some people on to go with you. It can't be done. I don't care who tries it. It's not possible. But I fortunately learned that the second month I started a digital marketing company, and I learned quickly how to outsource, and I found some tremendous people that I could get to do the work on my behalf while I was out still selling and turning up my influence in the chamber and around the community. And they were doing the work in the background. And my outsourced team, in fact, the very first thing I sold in my business was with a chamber member walked up to me out in the park and during a music in the park type situation and just said, oh, by the way, I understand you do websites. And I said, well, yeah, I do websites. And I'd been in business 2 months only. And he said, well, we own the oldest store in town, and we'd like to redo the old site. And I'm also going to put like a backpack mountain climbing portion of the store. That's brand new. I need a website for that. So that's 2 websites sitting right there. And I said, sure. He said, well, see me on Monday. We'll get it all worked out. So I went over Monday, got the details and so forth. Then I went back to what then was my office, which was a coffee shop, actually. And I said, now, how in the heck am I going to do this? I don't even know how to build websites. I don't even know what HTML means.
Oh my God.
So I jumped on the old trail, outsourcing trail. And within a week, I found one of the best, actually is in Bangladesh. And he built beautiful sites. He priced them where I made quintupled my profits and paid him as well. And he was with me for 6 years before he moved on to work permanently for some larger company in the U.S. on a permanent monthly basis. But we had a 6-year relationship. And even now, I have a team that I personally built in Pakistan that does all of my lead generation work. They build all my sites. They do all my SEO. And we have meetings virtually every morning on Skype. I get up at 4:00. Everybody laughs at me, but I get up at 4 because I've got a Skype meeting with my team over in Bangladesh. So that's how that goes. You asked me if it's appropriate to add somebody. I've always had somebody behind me.
Yeah.
So Marcia invited the world, and we are grateful everybody's joining us, and we're starting to get some really cool questions.
Yeah.
And I kind of bother Marcia when I shrink our heads, so I'm going to ask the first question. And I want to thank Evelyn. Evelyn, that was an amazing tracking wonder Zoom. So welcome back, Evelyn Asher, and thank you for joining us. Evelyn wanted to know, how is Jonathan teaching, and is he teaching online?
Jonathan is teaching online. Jonathan teaches regularly in his I teach in my social media support group regularly every week, but I have a 6-week Success on Social class, which I will be teaching starting May 18th. It's the second run of that. And I really just help businesses understand what they need to do to be successful on social media, from their story to the content creation to scheduling it and how they get engagement. And yes, it's all online for the most part. I like to have some in-person sessions, but right now we're doing them via Zoom.
So Jonathan, also you have a group that Evelyn might be interested in joining?
Yes, tell us.
It is the Social Life. So it's Facebook/groups, the Social Life. Social Life, the L is combined.
Very, very cool. And we've got another amazing question
From Matthew.
And do you want to read that one, Marcia?
Yep. Okay. So
welcome, Matthew Silverman. Hey, hey.
Hi, Matthew.
Matthew.
Okay. What do
Matthew.
What do you think has come from this quarantine situation that makes people refine their message because they are not there in person and are working remotely?
The question was refine their
message.
I'm gonna add it so we can kind of
yeah, that's good. Yeah, so they can see. Yeah, that's good.
We'll get a chance to see it. So what do you think has come from this quarantine situation that makes people refine their message because they are not there in person and are working remotely?
So I would say they shouldn't be refining their message yet. They should be focusing on what they can do. And then as we move out of this, they should then look to refine their message if it's something that's impacting them long term.
Excellent.
If they've made a pivot, a change, a stretch, whatever, to something that's going to be impactful for the long term, then they should look at changing their messaging. But right now, I mean, they should focus on what they're doing to help people, but not really not worry about their messaging at the moment, because we don't know what's next week is going to bring. We don't know what next month is going to bring. If we start to change our brand messaging now, we're just going to change it again and change it again and change it again, which makes us look like an inconsistent brand instead of a brand that's helping fill the needs. And then as we know if we're staying and filling that need, we will then kind of stretch into that messaging and make that messaging more permanent. Just measured change on it. We don't know what's coming, so don't change your brand to fill the need right now when the need may be different tomorrow.
That's
I think
good.
one other thing too that Matthew's questions from a unique perspective. He's a writer.
Yeah.
He specializes in editing services, and I think, you know, part of I think Matthew, my answer to this question would be clarity. At a time when people are exploring whether they're in a hopeful mode or a fearful mode, whether they're happy or not, whether they're in love or developing or exploring stages of dislike. I think the thing, and maybe this is coming forth from me, Matthew, from the fact that my 2020 word is shifts. And this whole thing is advancing, not movement, but I think clarity. I also think, flexibility. We are reminded, and I want to thank Lachelle and Jackie for reminding of this before, that besides the clarity and the flexibility, this is a time when many people are focusing, whether it's something internal, something external. You know, it's kind of challenging. Somebody else is bridging on this. I want to thank them. That reports need to be crystal clear to all of your stakeholders. This is a reminder, whether we're in front of someone live, whether we're working virtually, I think it's the reminder. Christopher said something really great in one of our speed networking breakouts. Christopher was reminding us that we're all connected.
Yeah.
And I think if we don't connect the dots, I remember that when we were kids, I loved those, drove my mother crazy. But the connecting the dots, yeah, I needed the multicolor pens, you know, those tricolor pens. I'm really dating myself.
4 colors.
But
I had that. Yep.
I couldn't connect the dots in one color. They had to be different colors. They had to be different lines. But I think that clarity, the flexibility, and the focus part.
Can I add one more thing?
To connect.
Can I add one more thing?
Sure.
If you're looking at, you know, for the writing end of it, showing the humanity of whoever he's writing for. Because right now, we're looking to connect with humans, not businesses. We're always looking to connect with humans, not businesses. But right now, more than ever, we're all going through this. This is all unknown. This is all uncomfortable, and we don't know what's happening. So being very, very human, if you're putting out, you know, corporate information, just giving it a human face, providing that humanity in there so that people understand that you're human too.
I've got, Matthew, I've got to say that when I first saw the words refine your message, the first thing that came to my mind were people that, not in our business, but people out in the workforce who have had to change. We're used to being online and working in our homes. And so that doesn't really relate to us as much as it does to that person that comes from an insurance office or working in a larger firm of some sort. And when you said refine their message, the first thing that entered my mind was, after this, am I going to start my own business? And my message to my boss is I quit, or is my message is I love my company, I'm going to stay with them. That's what I thought of first when you said refine your message. Either I love it or bye-bye. So anyway, and Matthew, I left a seat at the coffee table for you this morning. I'm sorry you missed the good times. I'm sorry, just a little harassment for Matthew there.
I don't know necessarily that you're harassing. I think it's also the reminder that you're welcoming us to have seats at the table. Yeah. And I appreciate in your Coffees with Chris that you're not sharing them live. It's created kind of an interesting place for us to have dialogues.
Yeah.
And I think as Matthew's talking about refining messages, I used to think of it as the inside or the outside voice. I'm the teacher's kid, and while sitting in mom's classroom, if I had raised my hand or raised my voice, I'd have gotten in big trouble. But I think that inside, outside, the remote, whether something is close to us in proximity or whether it seems farther away, I think some of us are listening more to each other. We're hearing each other more. We're seeing each other more. We're feeling each other more. I think others are isolating more. Maybe it's more internal. Maybe they're going deeper, going within. I know for me, I'm meditating daily, and it will remain a daily practice. But I think before we used to think of remote like remote control. We used to think of it like working offsite, or whether you were at your desk. My brother, and I really appreciate it, reminds me he's in an industry where he could work in an office as an employee, or he could telecommute. So his job always had that flexibility or that preparation for the environment in which we're functioning today. I think one of the challenges is watching some people who I perceived as leaders, as influencers, really almost look uncomfortable at the fact that there's a loneliness to it for them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still an introvert. I'll say now, after years as an entrepreneur, I'm an ambivert. Marcia helped me understand that. But I'm really comfortable to sit in a corner quietly, although I don't normally share that part that often. But I think that message part of leadership, as a leader, what do you want to inspire people to do? Do you want to inspire them to help others? Do you want to inspire them to feel comfortable to share more, to care more?
Mm-hmm.
All of the above.
Well, I think you want to, if you're talking about being a boss, is that what you're speaking of? And how you show your leadership? Is that part of what you're saying?
It could be as an employer, but it could be also as a manager. It could be as a supervisor. It could be as a volunteer.
Well, the way I look at that is you want to have people, the strange statement, and it really is true. If you're hiring people, try to hire somebody smarter than you are. And in the process, and many people won't do that because it intimidates them, but hire people smarter than you are and train them to leave. Because if they're that sharp and they learn from you, then they're going to learn they can do it themselves too. So you train them. When you've trained them well enough, you've trained them to leave and go on their own. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like letting little chicks out of the nest. Mm-hmm. But it's very important as a manager to think in those terms.
Yeah.
That's true.
I would agree with that. And you'd really have to, plan that, make them ready for their next step, whatever their next step is. And a leader prepares people for what they're going to do next, whether it's a boss is not necessarily a leader. A leader is not necessarily a boss. I've had employees that were leaders. They were real leaders. And I've had managers that aren't. In my past life, 18 years in retail. So, but you have to prepare them for whatever their next step is. And that's kind of how I build my business now. It's preparing my clients for whatever that next step is, getting them ready for that next step, the level up that they do, because you have to have the vision as a leader to see where they're going, or at least be able to guide them in some direction. That's right.
Yeah.
Love to what you're saying. And it really, Matthew's reminding us that, it's maybe that the written word can be more difficult for some, and they love Jonathan's reference that it's time to show humanity. There are some leaders, and I was reading an interesting article on this, that they were saying as a leader, and if you're leading a virtual meeting or you're leading an in-person meeting, to offer people the opportunity to express emotions if they needed to, and a private space with which to do so. And that in the process of leadership, the reminder that we all have different focuses right now. We have different goals. We have different hurdles. You have different responses to things. We're in a time sometimes where, and I love this about the written word, can be difficult for some because some words are triggers. I was talking with Marcia about that earlier. As I'm on the board of Fearless Hudson Valley, and the reminder in all sorts of awareness months that each word that we use, and I'm back to Susan Young's from Communication Nation, who has an amazing beta course that I've been enjoying, where Susan said, change your words, change your world. And all it was taking the S off of word and putting an L, and change our words, change our world. But I think that relates also to leadership and styles, and Christopher, they're really feeling what you're saying. Dave's saying it, you're absolutely right. And here's another great comment, and let me know what you guys think.
That goes back to what Christopher was saying.
That's a good way to put it too. That's a very good way to put it.
Yep, absolutely.
I think you should never be the smartest guy in the room or the smartest girl in the room. You should always.
You're in the wrong room. You're in the wrong room.
Yep, it's true. No, it's true. It's true. Yeah,
you should always be able to learn from somebody.
Absolutely. And the thing is to be always learning. Still, because once you stop learning, if you're not teachable, that could be kind of a miserable life. I mean, seriously, honestly, because
you're not teachable, you're not a leader.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, even then, I mean, you still have to be teachable, because you should always be learning so that you can help other people also, and so that you can grow. I think when you're just stagnant, you die. Basically, you really do. You stop living life. That's my opinion. But yeah.
Well, even more, you need to surround yourself with those people.
Yes, you do.
For example, today I spoke to 2 different people, and in some areas, I had the upper hand as far as maybe some knowledge, but they had greater knowledge in other areas that I had very little grasp of. In fact, both of them in different ways at different times in the conversations this morning. I found that very comfortable, because I was learning from them, they were learning from me, and we were both growing at the same time.
Yeah.
And, so just surround yourself with great people of different talents.
Absolutely.
That'll help you grow very, very quickly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Evelyn's got another great comment for us about writing coaching and how it can elevate one's image. It's a good investment. It can save a position. I think it can also save reputation.
I know a good coach for that too, if you want, and he's on the air with us right now.
And another one is typing. It's really kind of fun too, because I think
okay,
we're gonna know. I think one of these days, Tiffany in her Business and Bliss, Tiffany's got a great Business and Bliss book club. Tiffany, I have the book. So let's one of these days we'll get back to our book club. But I think it's a really good idea, as you're saying, about the writing coaching. And the same thing with leadership coaching. Have any of you ever worked with an executive coach?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
No,
not directly. I've had some as clients, and we've worked on things, but not directly.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing as like the leadership programs, and I'm grateful that I went through one, 10 years ago, and they have them in many of the counties in the US, so that we can kind of, explore our own styles or whether we think we are. I've been having a blast watching you all. And I'm so not kicking you out of the broadcast. And we're going to continue these discussions as we have watch parties and we have premieres on Marcia's page. If you could leave somebody with something.
Oh, that's good.
That gives them fuel or another, place to turn as they're exploring whether they want to be a leader in today's world or tomorrow's world. Or as Christopher reminded us, to not just focus on yesterday's world and the past perspective. What would you leave us with?
Well, that's very easy for me, and to me, and growth and progress and success is not preceded, but is followed by giving. If you give enough, you will get what you're wanting. If you're wanting to grow in a certain area, let's say in social media, if you give of your talents and you give strongly enough, let's say you really don't know enough about it, but you'll learn from Jonathan how to do it and then pass that on to someone else. But always giving, always looking toward that, because you'll get back twice what you gave. And I believe that with all my heart.
That's right.
And I think success is built on that. Believe me.
I think for me, other than what Chris just said, don't be afraid to take the chances. Don't be afraid to keep moving forward. And just because it's a journey and there's no such thing as failure, there's stepping stones on your way to getting where you want to go. And if you're not willing to experiment, change, innovate, create things that are gonna maybe work, then you're never going to get to those things that are going to work. And you have to just go and not be afraid of it. Not be, I have to do it this way. I have to be flexible. You have to be flexible to get to where you want to go. It's, the dodgeball in the back of your head.
That goes along with 5 years from now. I don't want to look back and say, I wish I had done this.
Yep.
When you had the opportunity to do it 5 years ago, don't ever let yourself say, I wish I had.
That's right.
And I've learned that, and it's resulted in some very interesting things in my life. I've done some things that I really couldn't afford, say, for example, and I did it because it was necessary at the time. It's a family story and so forth. I'll leave that out. But I did it because I didn't want to be 5-10 years later and looking back and saying, I wish I had. I don't want to go to my beyond here saying, I wish I had.
Yep. It's true. It's true.
Yeah. I think we should leave it at that.
Yep.
I kind of like that. I'm gonna take your great suggestion and also really thank you all for your time, for joining us. But really, Chris, I can't wait till coffee with Chris. And Jonathan, I'm really looking forward to you talking to us about engagement and hashtags in a few minutes.
Training in 15 minutes.
Oh, so Lord.
we're gonna let you run off and get ready to lead and teach. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to say something. I want to thank you guys. I want to thank Jackie Muller. I want to thank Lachelle Adkins, America's Supermom. I'd like to thank Christopher Knight, and I'd like to thank my twin, Jonathan Howard. I just want to thank you all. This has been a ride, you guys. And I feel like I've grown so much just through these series of dialogues. And I respect each and every one of you. I think you're awesome. I've learned, just like I said, so much. And I just want to thank you for joining us for the end of this series. this season. So we will see you guys in 2021.
I appreciate being a part of it very much. Thank you very much.
Well,
We want to thank you and thank you for the opportunity.
Yes.
And I'm gonna say a few words to Marcia because it's what the right way to do. And I'm gonna do this Christopher Knight style. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
And really thank you both for
Bye-bye.
joining us. And we will see you gentlemen shortly.
Bye-bye.
Yay.
So
Oh, that was good.
one of the fun parts is Marcia is laughing because we're still live.
Yep, we are.
But I wanted to thank her
Oh,
for being not only an amazing friend, a fabulous woman, but a really cool. The universe sent you at a time when I needed really good and healthy fuel. I thanked you today on my business page. I'm thanking you as I'm finding some ignition to fly a Be Visible with Mel Flag in a very different world. But I really want to thank you for your time, for your voice, for your insights, for your questions, for your energy, and especially just for your really amazing voice. It was so much fun to see you share that brand voice, the Marcia voice, on target, on purpose, with full intention. And just really in one of the sweetest, most wonderful ways. And I want to thank you for that. And I'm thanking you for that.
I want to thank you, Melanie Richards. You've been such an amazing friend. You've been awesome. You really have. You have helped me up my game. I've seen you go from invisible to visible, and you have encouraged me to do the same. And I enjoyed these dialogues that we've had together, even our offline conversations. I mean, I'm blessed. I'm really blessed to have you as my friend and in my life. And I celebrate you and I thank God every day for you. I do. Thank you. Such a good friend. I love you.
Love you too. Until we meet again, everybody.
Yes.
Let's hang out for watch parties and replays. Invite people in. Check us out on Be Visible on YouTube. Check us out in Illuminations groups. Check us out in premieres on Marcia's The Brand Naked Agency. And until we meet again, stay well, stay safe, and stay inspired.